Friends, in this video, contract costing has been covered. It is a topic included in MTCA, that is, Methods and Techniques of Cost Accounting, prescribed for BCom 6th Sem of Coimbatore University. In this, meaning of contract costing, features, types of contracts, different terms which we come across in contract costing, preparation of contract account have been explained. It ends with a specimen of contract account in case of an incomplete contract. Now let us start with the meaning of contract costing. Contract costing is one type of special order costing which is applied by the business concerns engaged in construction works. Construction work may be construction of houses, residential houses, commercial complexes, or any other building. Construction of roads, construction of bridges, construction of dams, and so on. So, it is one type of special order costing. It is a special order costing because according to the specification or requirement of the people, contractor undertakes the job of contract. Therefore, this method of costing is considered as special order costing. Now let us consider the features. In this contract costing, work is undertaken against the specific orders of the customers. Specific orders, the contractor, only when he receives an order from other people who are called contractees, their requirements will be understood, their specification will be known. By considering those specifications, contract is undertaken. Therefore, work is undertaken against the specific orders of the customers. That is one feature. The size of the work is considerably big. Compared to job costing, where the jobs are of very small size, here size of the contract work is comparatively big. The job or work under contract costing requires very long period of time for its completion. From the beginning to the end, it requires a longer period. That is another feature. It comprises, that is, contract comprises the activities to be done outside the premises of the factory. Usually, the production takes place in factory, but here the contractor has to do the job, contract work, at the site of the contractees. So, it is undertaken or it is done outside the premises of the factory. That is the special feature. Nextly, no two contracts are similar in nature. They differ in one or the other respect, such as size, cost, specification, etc. As already said earlier, it is undertaken by the contractor against the orders of the customers. Therefore, the requirements and specification of one contractee will differ from the requirements of other contractee. Therefore, naturally, no two contracts are similar in nature. Suitability. Contract costing is suitable to shipbuilding industries, firms engaged in construction of buildings, roads, bridges, dams, etc. Now let us consider types of contracts. There are mainly two types of contracts depending upon the length of time required for their completion. They are completed contracts and incomplete contracts. Here, by taking into account the date of commencement and date of completion, whether they fall in the same accounting period or they fall in two different accounting periods, we may classify them into two, that is, completed contracts and incomplete contracts. Here, classification is made because the ascertainment of profit differs. Now, let us consider one by one. If the date of commencement of a contract and date of its completion fall in the same accounting year, it is said to be a completed contract. That is, the commencement date and completion date, both the dates, if they fall in the same accounting year, then such a contract is called completed contract. On the other hand, if the date of commencement of a contract falls in one accounting year and date of its completion falls in the subsequent accounting year or subsequent accounting years, it is said to be an incomplete contract. That is, a contract which remains incomplete in the year of its commencement and gets continued and completed in subsequent year or subsequent years is called an incomplete contract. It is said to be an incomplete contract for all the years except for the last year, for which it will be called a completed contract only. As already said, the assessment and treatment of profit from such contracts are different. See here, in case of incomplete contract, date of commencement will fall in one accounting year. It may be continued in the next year and completed in the next year only, or it may be extended to the third year also. Depending upon the size of the contract, it takes a longer or it may take a longer period. But point to be noted here is that the date of commencement and date of completion of the contract should fall in two different accounting years. Then only it is called incomplete contract. As already said earlier, since the assessment of profit and treatment of profit will differ, the segregation is made here. Now let us consider important terms used in contract costing. Contractor and contractee. Contractor is the party who has undertaken to do the contract work for the other party as per the requirement and specification of the latter. Contractee is the party for whom the contract work is done by the contractor. Here we should keep in our mind that contract is nothing but an agreement. An agreement is entered into between two parties. One is the contractor, another is the contractee, and as per the agreement, contractor will do the or will undertake the job, contract work, for the other party who is called contractee. So contractor will do the job on behalf of contractee. Now, contract price. It is the consideration payable by the contractee to the contractor for doing the contract work for him. It is depending on the terms of the agreement, payable in installments on completion of different stages or at the end of the contract. See, it is the consideration. The contractor will not do the job free of cost or freely. The contractor will have to pay a consideration for the services rendered by the contractor for doing the job for him. So, this consideration payable by him to the contractor is called contract price. Now, this contract price, in case of a small contract which takes a very short period for its completion, usually the amount, the contract price may be paid at the end of the contract. But all those contracts which require a longer period for their completion, in the case of such contracts, usually the agreement, the terms of the agreement will be such that contractor will have to pay this consideration in installments. So, this is the consideration payable. Now, subcontract, another term. It is an arrangement whereby the contractor entrusts some portion of the contract work to another party called subcontractor. For example, flooring work in case of construction of a house, steel work, etc. may be entrusted in this way. Remember, in case of a subcontract, it is an arrangement between the contractor and the other party. The contractee will not come in the picture here. The cost of such subcontract is also charged to the main contract. Now, next term is cost plus contract. The terms of the agreement may provide that consideration payable by the contractee will be the aggregate of actual cost incurred for the contract work and profit at agreed percentage of such cost. This is followed when it is difficult to fix the contract price in advance. That is, when it is very difficult to forecast the cost to be incurred for the contract. For example, what would be the material cost, what would be the labor cost, or indirect expenses, which are called overhead. When it is not possible or when it is very difficult to estimate these expenses or cost in advance, then cost plus contract may be entered into. Here, the terms will provide that cost incurred for the contract, actual cost incurred by the contractor for doing the contract work, that will be taken into account, and it will be enhanced by the amount of profit. Amount of profit will be agreed in advance, the percentage of profit will be agreed in advance. What is the cost incurred to which profit at agreed percentage will be added? Such a contract is called cost plus contract. Escalation clause and de-escalation clause. These are the clauses which safeguard the interests of both the contractor and the contractee in case of fluctuations in the prices of materials and labor. Here, escalation clause safeguards the interest of the contractor. De-escalation clause safeguards the interest of the contractee. Here, when these clauses are included in the agreement, then if the prices of materials or prices of labor change beyond the a specified limit, then only the clauses will apply. That is, if the prices change in upward direction, then the contractor will have to lose. He may have to suffer loss. Therefore, as per this clause, escalation clause, he will be safeguarded. On the other hand, if the price falls in future beyond a certain limit, specified limit, then contractee will have to suffer loss. Therefore, when these clauses are included in the terms of the agreement, then their interest can be easily safeguarded. See, they provide that if during the execution of the contract, the prices of raw materials and labor specified in the agreement change beyond a specified limit over the prices prevailing at the time of signing the agreement, the contract price will be suitably adjusted. The procedure for such price adjustment will be included in the terms of agreement to avoid future disputes. Here, the procedure of price adjustment, whether to be increased or whether to be decreased, how to adjust them, that will be included in the terms of the agreement so that future disputes can be avoided. Nextly, work certified and work uncertified. These terms we will come across in the case of incomplete contracts. Firstly, work certified. The value of the part of the contract work which is done by the contractor at the end of accounting year and certified as completed by the architect of the contractee is termed as work certified. As already said, this is a term which we come across in the case of incomplete contract, that is a contract which is extended to subsequent accounting year. In such a case, the progress of the contract will have to be certified. That is, the architect or engineer of the contractee will come to the site and verifies the progress of the contract, and he will issue a certificate that the part of the work has been completed. So, the part of the work which has already been completed will have to be certified or will have to be approved by the architect of the contractee. So, the value of the work done by the contractor which has been approved by the architect is called work certified. Work uncertified. The part of the work done which remains unapproved by the architect is termed as work uncertified. It is always valued at cost. See, the work is uncertified. Though the work has been done by the contractor, it is not yet certified by the architect. There should be reason for this. The reason for unapproval is that work done may not have reached a stipulated stage. Only when the work under the contract reaches a stipulated stage, then only it will be approved by the architect. We do not come across these two terms in case of completed contracts. Here, the value of work certified and cost of work uncertified will have to be noted because the contractee, as per the terms of the agreement, will have to make the payment at a certain percentage of value of work certified. Therefore, the architect will have to certify the work done by the contractor. Retention money. When the system of progress payment is adopted, the part of the contract price payable by the contractee from time to time depends upon the satisfactory progress of the contract work. The progress will be judged on the basis of the value of the work certified, as already said earlier. That is, when the architect issues the certificate certifying or approving the work done by the contractor, as per such value, the payment will be made by the contractee to the contractor. Usually, as per the agreement, 75% to 80% of the value of work certified is paid by the contractee. Here, while making the payment, work uncertified is not included. Only the agreed percentage of work certified, value of work certified, will be paid by the contractee to the contractor. The balance of work certified which remains unpaid is called retention money. For example, if the percentage is 80%, 20% of the work certified will be called retention money. It is payable by the contractee when the contract is completed. That is, in future, when the contract is completed, retention money is payable by the contractor to the contractor. For the time being only it is stopped. It remains unpaid. It is a sort of guarantee that the contractor will not run away in the middle of the contract if loss is anticipated by him on its completion. It is to safeguard the interest of the contractee. This clause is included in the agreement. Let us consider an example to understand this retention money. If contract price is rupees 6 lakh, value of work certified is rupees 4 lakh, cost of work uncertified is rupees 40,000, contractee has agreed to pay 80%, then the amount paid will be rupees 3,20,000 and retention money will be rupees 80,000. Here 80% is payable. So, these are all imaginary figures. Now, 80% is the amount, the percentage agreed between the contractor and contractee to be paid by the contractee. Therefore, 80% of certified work certified is rupees 4 lakh, 80% of which comes to 3,20,000. That is payable by the contractee to the contractor, and retention money 80% means 100 minus 80, 20% is the retention money, 20% of 4 lakh comes to rupees 80,000. So, 80% and 20% of work certified of rupees 4 lakh respectively. Nextly, work in progress. It is valued at the end of all the years in which the contract remains incomplete. It includes the value of work certified and the cost of work uncertified. It will be shown as an asset in the balance sheet of the contractor after deducting the amount received from the contractee and also the profit kept in reserve. Here, work in progress, that is the part of the work which is completed by the contractor but remains incomplete at the end of the accounting year. will be considered as an asset of the contractor. Therefore, it is shown as an asset in his balance sheet. While showing the work in progress in the balance sheet, the cost of work uncertified will be added to value of work certified from the aggregate. The amount received from the contractee, cash received from the contractee during that accounting year will be deducted. Similarly, profit which is kept in reserve, which will be explained subsequently, that will also be deducted. The net figure will be shown as an asset in the balance sheet. So, work in progress can be presented in the form of an equation. Work in progress is equal to work certified plus work uncertified. From this aggregate, we have to deduct cash received from contractee and profit in reserve. The aggregate of these two will be deducted from the aggregate of work certified and work uncertified, which is considered as work in progress, which will be shown in the balance sheet. Assessment and treatment of profit on contracts. The assessment and treatment of profit from completed and incomplete contracts are different. In case of both the types of contracts, profit is ascertained by preparing a contract account. It should be noted that a separate contract account is prepared for each contract undertaken by the contractor. If 5 contracts are undertaken by the contractor, 5 separate contract accounts are prepared. That means, if there are 5 contracts, there will be 5 contracts account. Some may be completed in the same year and some other may remain incomplete at the end of the year. All the expenses incurred on contract, such as cost of materials, labor and all the indirect expenses, are debited to contract account. Further, the contract price in case of completed contract or the work in progress in case of incomplete contract is credited to the relevant contract account. Here, whether it is a completed contract or incomplete contract, on the debit side we have to consider or we have to include all the expenses. But on the credit side, if it is a completed contract, the contract price will be included. In case of incomplete contract, value of work in progress will be included. Now, when the account is closed, the balancing figure represents either profit if there is a credit balance or loss if there is a debit balance in the contract account. In case of completed contract, there is no problem with regard to treatment of profit. The entire profit or loss shown by the contract account is transferred to profit and loss account of the relevant accounting year. However, in case of incomplete contract, loss if any is transferred wholly to profit and loss account of the relevant year. But profit to be credited to profit and loss account depends upon the progress of the contract. Only a reasonable amount of profit out of the total profit made during the year is transferred to profit and loss account, and the balance amount is kept in reserve to meet unknown contingencies. Here, in case of incomplete contract, the profit will be divided into 2 portions. One is the profit, reasonable profit, which is transferred to profit and loss account. The balance profit is kept in reserve because future is uncertain. It it is possible that in future, because of increase in prices of materials, and prices of labor may increase, thereby loss may have to be suffered. To meet such unforeseen contingencies, a reserve is created. So, that is the difference between completed contract and incomplete contract with regard to treatment of profit. But remember, in case of loss, even in case of incomplete contract, whole amount of loss will be transferred to profit and loss account of the relevant accounting year. Assessment of profit on incomplete contract. Now, let us consider in detail with regard to the assessment of profit. Certain rules are followed while calculating the amount of profit or loss to be transferred to profit and loss account. They are as under. As already said, in case of incomplete contract, when we prepare the contract account, on the debit side all the expenses are entered, on the credit side value of work in progress will be entered. The difference may be either profit or loss. If there is loss, then whole amount will be transferred to profit and loss account. But if there is profit, that profit, whole amount of such profit cannot be or should not be transferred to profit and loss account. It is segregated or classified or divided into two parts. One part is transferred to profit and loss account. The balance amount of profit will be kept in reserve. Now, how to find this reasonable amount of profit? It depends upon the progress of the contract in case of incomplete contract. So, here there are no fast and hard rules. Still, for this, certain rules are followed, which are mentioned below. Firstly, loss, if any, is transferred wholly to profit and loss account of the relevant year. Profit is to be considered only in respect of work certified, work uncertified to be valued at cost always. Remember, as already said earlier, work certified, which is approved, the part of the work which is completed by the contractor and approved by the architect, that is valued, and that value includes part of profit also. It is not actual cost plus profit it includes. So, work certified includes part of profit. So, profit is to be considered only in respect of work certified, but work uncertified is always valued at cost. It does not include an element of profit. Now, depending upon the progress, we have to consider the reasonable amount of profit. If the work certified is less than 25% of the contract price, no portion of the notional profit means when contract account is closed or balanced, if there is credit balance, the resulting figure or credit balance is called profit. That profit is notional profit. And if the progress is less than 25% of the contract price, here how to find the progress? Work certified is compared with the contract price, and if the work certified is less than 25% of the contract price, then no portion of notional profit should be transferred to P&L account. Instead, entire notional profit is kept in reserve and credited to work in progress account. That means, entire amount of notional profit in such a case is kept in reserve. The amount of profit which is kept in reserve will be transferred to work in progress account In the sense, work in progress account is credited with this profit kept in reserve. If the value of work certified in the relevant accounting year is equal to 25% or more than 25%, but less than 50% of the contract price, 1/3 of the notional profit as reduced by the percentage of cash received from the contractee should be transferred to profit and loss account. The balance is kept in reserve and credited to work in progress account. Nextly, if the value of work certified is equal to 50% or more than 50%, but less than 90% of the contract price, 2/3 of the notional profit as reduced by the percentage of cash received from the contractee should be transferred to profit and loss account. The balance is kept in reserve and transferred to work in progress account as usual. If the value of work certified is equal to 90% or more than 90%, but less than 100%, less than 100% means work is not yet complete, below 100% of the contract price. That is, if the contract is very much near completion, total cost of completing the contract should be estimated now, and on that basis profit should also be estimated. Now, profit and loss account should be credited with that portion of estimated profit on cash basis which the work certified bears to contract price. You remember, when the contract is very much near completion, then we have to estimate the profit. For estimating the profit, we have to estimate the total cost. Here, we can compute the estimated total cost which is given below. Estimated total cost is equal to costs incurred so far. Cost incurred so far means cost of material, cost of labor, overheads, any other indirect expenses, the aggregate of which should be considered costs incurred so far plus estimated future cost to be incurred. Since the contract is near its completion, what should be the cost to be incurred in future? That should be estimated. When it is added to cost already incurred, that will give us estimated total cost. Now, estimated profit. This estimated total cost will be deducted from contract price, which will give us estimated profit. So, estimated profit is equal to contract price minus estimated total cost. Now, when the estimated profit is calculated, then we have to again segregate here. Profit to be transferred out of this estimated profit, what should be transferred to P&L account, what should be kept in reserve. See here, profit to be transferred to profit and loss account is equal to estimated profit into cash received divided by work certified into work certified by contract price. This formula will have to be followed. The balance amount will be transferred to or will be kept in reserve and transferred to work in progress account. Now, these rules relating to assessment of profit can be summarized in the following table. The rules explained above are presented briefly. See, the second column will give us percentage of work completion, that is the progress. Percentage are given 1, 2, 3, 4. Third column, profits to be transferred to profit and loss account. The reasonable amount which should be transferred to profit and loss account. Formula is given here. In the last column, fourth column, reserve profit. Reserve profit in all cases will be notional profit minus profit which is computed in the third column. That will give us reserve profit which is transferred to work in progress. Now, the first case, work certified is less than, symbol is used here, less than 25% of the contract price. Out of notional profit, nothing is transferred to P&L account, nil. Entire last column, entire notional profit is kept in reserve and credited to work in progress account. What amount is shown in the last column, that is kept in reserve. Profit kept in reserve is transferred to work in progress account. So, in case of work certified below 25% of the contract price, entire notional profit is kept in reserve. Point number 2, work certified if equal to 25% or below 25%. Work certified is equal to 25% or greater than 25%, equal to or greater than 25%, but less than 50% of the contract price. Second rule here. Now, profit out of notional profit, what amount should be transferred to P&L account? See the formula. Notional profit which is computed by closing contract account. So, notional profit into 1 by 3, that is the rule, 1 by 3 of notional profit which is reduced by the percentage of cash received. Notional profit into 1 by 3 into cash received by work certified. This formula will give us the profit to be, the part of notional profit to be transferred to profit and loss account of the concerned year. The remaining profit, that is notional profit minus profit transferred to P&L account, will be kept in reserve. Now, point number 3, work certified if is equal to 50% or greater than 50%, but less than 90% of the contract price. Now, the formula is like this. As usual, notional profit is computed into 2 by 3, 2 by 3 of notional profit which is reduced by percentage of cash received. Notional profit into 2 by 3 into cash received by work certified. For example, if cash received is 80% of work certified, then notional profit into 2 by 3 into 80 by 100. That formula will give us the profit to be transferred to P&L account. The remaining profit, that is notional profit minus profit transferred to profit and loss account, will have to be kept in reserve, because the last column, fourth column heading is reserve profit, amount of notional profit which is kept in reserve. It is shortly called reserve profit. Now, lastly, if the work certified is equal to 90% or greater than 90%, but work certified is less than 100% of contract price, then formula to compute this profit to be transferred to profit and loss account. As usual here, not notional profit is considered, but as already explained earlier, estimated profit is computed now. For computing estimated profit, we require estimated cost. Estimated cost means cost already incurred plus cost which is estimated to be incurred in future. The aggregate will give us the total estimated cost. From contract price, estimated cost will be deducted, which will give us estimated profit. So, estimated profit into cash received by work certified into work certified by contract price. This is the formula in case of contract which is near completion. This formula will give us the profit to be taken into account in the relevant accounting year. The remaining profit here not notional profit but estimated profit. Estimated profit minus profit transferred to P&L account will have to be kept in reserve. That means the balance profit after transferring the profit to P&L account will have to be kept in reserve. Now, let us consider preparation of contract account. As already said, the contract account is prepared whether it is a completed contract or incomplete contract to find out the profit or loss on contract. We have to prepare a contract account. Individual contract or separate contract account will be prepared for each contract. How to prepare this contract account? Let us consider. Contract account includes the following items. Now, let us consider these items one by one. Firstly, cost of direct materials. It is debited to contract account. It includes the materials purchased exclusively for the contract and those issued from stores. Here consider the materials. When materials are to be considered for a contract, the contractor may purchase the materials exclusively for the said contract, or he may be maintaining a central storehouse where different materials may have been stored. From such central store, some materials to this contract may be issued. Therefore, in the contract account, while including materials, we have to separately show them. So, materials include materials purchased exclusively for the said contract and those materials issued from storehouse. Both will have to be included. The materials which remain unused at the end of the accounting period, materials returned to stores, materials destroyed if any, will be credited to the contract account. The net amount indicates the materials used for the contract. Remember, cost of direct materials used, that is to be noted. But in contract account, procedure is to include the cost of gross materials or gross cost of materials purchased and issued to the contract will be shown on the debit side. When any material out of these is returned to store for some reason, or a part of material is destroyed, suppose, or a part of material which remains unused, all these when entered on the credit side, the net figure will give us the cost of direct materials used. This is the procedure with regard to cost of direct materials. Nextly, cost of direct labor, that is nothing but wages. Contract account is debited with wages paid and wages remaining outstanding at the end of the accounting period. Wages which remain outstanding means which remain unpaid should also be included, and outstanding wages will be added to wages paid on the debit side of the contract account. Direct expenses. Contract account is also debited with direct expenses paid, if any, and direct expenses remaining outstanding. As in the case of direct labor, here also a part of direct expenses may be remaining outstanding. If outstanding expenses are there, that should be added to direct expenses on the debit side of the contract account. Plant. Plant which has been purchased specially for the contract and used for the whole accounting period is debited at cost and its depreciated value is credited to the contract account. Remember, it is possible that a plant may be exclusively used for this contract for the whole accounting year. In such a case, on the debit side of the contract account, cost will be shown. Cost of plant issued to this contract will be shown, and on the credit side, the depreciated value means cost minus depreciation for the period, will give us depreciated value of plant at the end of the accounting period will be shown on the credit side. This is the procedure. But if a plant is used for a short period, its usual depreciation is debited. It means that some other plant, for example, may not be used for the whole accounting period. It may be used only for a short period, say 1 month or 2 months. Then, in such a case, cost of the plant will not be included on the debit side, but directly the depreciation is computed by taking into account the period for which it is used. Such depreciation is directly debited to contract account. This is how the depreciation of plant is taken into account. Indirect expenses and other general overheads. Since they are incurred for 2 or more contracts, their due share will be debited to concerned contracts. It means that indirect expenses and overheads, when the contractor is doing 2 or more contracts simultaneously for different contractees, then some expenses may be incurred for 2 or more contracts. In such a case, a due share, taking the proportionate share of such overheads or such indirect expenses will be debited to the concerned contracts. Contract price or work in progress. Finally, after entering all the expenses on the debit side of the contract, finally, contract account is credited with either the contract price or with the value of work in progress. See, in the case of completed contract, contract account is credited with the contract price. In the case of incomplete contract, contract account is credited with value of work in progress. Profit or loss. All the entries when are made in the contract account, final step is to close the contract account. As already said earlier, the purpose of preparing the contract account is to ascertain either the profit or loss. Now, finally the contract account is closed. The balancing figure represents either the profit or loss. See, after all the above entries, contract account is closed. Credit balance shows profit on contract and debit balance shows the loss. Either there will be debit balance or there will be credit balance. Debit balance represents loss, credit balance represents profit. In case of completed contract, profit or loss, if there is profit or if there is loss, will be transferred to profit and loss account of the contractor of the relevant year. But in case of incomplete contract, loss, if any, that is, if there is debit balance which represents loss, is transferred to profit and loss account wholly. But profit, that is, credit balance in contract account which represents profit, which is treated as notional. It is not the real profit realized, but it is treated as notional because the contract is incomplete contract. It is divided into two parts. A reasonable portion considering the progress of the contract, as already explained earlier, depending upon the progress, we have to consider a part of this notional profit only that should be reasonable. Rule will help us in ascertaining this portion of the profit which should be transferred to profit and loss account, and the balance is kept in reserve. So, it is notional profit is divided into two parts. A reasonable portion considering the progress of the contract is transferred, that is credited to profit and loss account, and the balance is kept in reserve which is transferred to, that is credited to work in progress account. Now, here a specimen of contract account is given. Here the amount is not taken into account, but in the place of the amount to be written, X mark is given. That is only a specimen. The items which are included in contract account, whether it is completed contract or incomplete contract, the debit side entries are one and the same, but on the credit side there will be a slight difference in the case of incomplete contract. And in the case of incomplete contract, contract account is divided into two parts mainly, because we have to divide the notional profit into two parts. Accordingly, there will be two parts. Finally, closing balance will have to be carried forward to the next year. Therefore, in the third part, the closing balance which will become the opening balance for the next year are shown. Now, let us consider on the debit side. See, date column we have to, for classroom purpose, usually dates are not available. The expenses will be incurred continuously. Materials, wages or any other expenses will be incurred throughout the accounting period. So, for this purpose it is shown here. Suppose the contract begins on 1/4/2018 up to 31st March 19. So, it is an example of incomplete contract. So, all the expenses are recorded on the different dates. So, the first item is, as already explained earlier, contract account is debited to materials, materials purchased plus materials issued from stores, both are included here. Materials purchased directly for this contract. In addition to that, any material issued from stores will be added. So, that is the first item. Now, on the credit side, that is at the end of the accounting period, that is 31st March 2019. So, we are assuming 1/4/2018 is the beginning date of the contract. At the end of the accounting period, that is on 31st March 2019, by materials at site, if any materials remaining unused, that will be recorded, or material returned to stores during the accounting period, if any part of the materials received may be returned to the stores for any reason for that matter. Both are shown on the credit side. As already explained, the net amount will show or will indicate the amount of material used for this contract. Now, again come back to the debit side. Second expense, wages, that is direct labor. Wages paid plus accrued means outstanding expenses. The wages which are incurred but not yet paid, accrued wages, both are included. Next, direct expenses, again paid plus accrued, that is outstanding. Next is plant. Here the plant which is used exclusively for this contract for the whole accounting period is included here, plant at cost. And with regard to this plant, see the credit side. By plant at site, depreciated value is included here. Plant at cost is debited and plant at site depreciated value will be included. The difference represents depreciation on this plant. Nextly, depreciation on other plant. It means that here directly depreciation is taken on the debit side because a plant may be used for a short period in the accounting year. Therefore, directly we will be considering depreciation on such plant, that is separately taken here. Nextly, general overhead. General overhead, any other indirect expense will be taken here. The justified share will be taken here with regard to this contract. Now, see on the credit side, work in progress. As already said earlier, in case of an incomplete contract, by work in all other entries are similar. With regard to this on the credit side, there is a difference. If it is a case of completed contract, we will have to consider here contract price on the credit side, that is by contractee's account we will be recording. By work in progress account in case of incomplete contract, by contractee's account in case of completed contract. In case of completed contract, amount is contract price. In case of incomplete contract, it will be value of work in progress we have to consider. So, work in progress we will include here value of work certified plus cost of work uncertified. The aggregate is taken here. Now, in this first part, now we have to see whether there is a profit or loss. So, here imaginary we have assumed that there is a profit. The difference between the credit side and debit side, there is a credit balance, and credit balance is representing notional profit. So, notional profit carried down. So, in the second part on the credit side we have written by notional profit brought down, that is at the end of the year only 31st March 2019, the same contract account is continued. By notional profit brought down, that will be recorded. Now, in this amount we have to consider, or we have to make or divide this notional profit into two parts. First part is the profit, reasonable profit, by taking into account the progress of the contract, the rules of which are explained earlier. We have to compute separately. That profit will be transferred to profit and loss account. To profit and loss account, the balance profit is kept in reserve, which is transferred to work in progress account. To work in progress account, we have written reserve profit within brackets. Now, this is the second part. After this, here this year is closed, but in the next year beginning is 1/4/2019. We have to continue, the contractor will have to continue this contract work because it remained incomplete in the first year. In the second year it is continued. To continue the contract work in the second year, we have to consider the value of work in progress. So, work in progress brought down. See on the credit side in the first part of contract account, work in progress is included, work certified plus work uncertified, both are included here. They are brought down. Then materials in hand on the credit side in the first part, materials at site will be shown here. Materials returned to store will not be brought down, but materials at site will be brought down because they will be used in the second year. Therefore, they are debited. Now, plant at site depreciated value which was shown on the credit side now will be used again in the second year. Therefore, it is also brought down. Plant at site brought down. Now, on the credit side, now see here by work in progress account, that is the reserve profit, which is also brought down on the credit side. Now, credit balance of work in progress, that is the amount of reserve profit which is credited to work in progress, that is also brought forward to the next year. In the next year, when the expenses are incurred, similarly this contract account is continued. Again, materials purchased, materials issued from stores, wages incurred, and any other indirect expenses will be debited. And on the credit side, again similar entries are made. If in the second year contract is completed, then it will be credited with the contract price and profit is ascertained. If again in the second year contract remains incomplete, then it will be carried to next year, third year. This process continues. This is how contract account is prepared in the case of incomplete contract. But in the case of completed contract, there will be no second part, no question of carrying the balances to be carried forward to next year. Any material at site will be returned. Material, that is unused materials, will be returned to store. Any plant in the site will be returned to store, and therefore no question of the balance to be carried forward to next period, because the contract will be completed and will be handed over to contractee, and the profit is ascertained by closing the contract account, and profit is, any profit or loss will be transferred to profit and loss account of the relevant year. This is how contract account is prepared. Thank you.